Hi, and welcome to the Lone Star Play podcast, where we sit, eat, chat, and repeat. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong, and we are coming to you from Austin, Texas. The Lone Star Play podcast is produced by Texas Real Food. Go to texasrealfood.com, and you can search your city for local restaurants, stores, butchers, farmers markets, and more who are using organic, fresh, artisanal, and local sources. It's a fun site that brings all natural options all together.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 months after our wedding. And then my husband was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer a month after that. So we spent our first year of marriage, both of us, on chemo together. And that was some shit, especially because I was already at an age where we knew we wanted kids and it was like shit or get off the pot. I didn't have years to wait to have children. And so I think the hard thing for me wasn't that I thought I was going to die, or that I was pissed that I had to lose my hair, or that I had to put my career on hold right as my ship was starting to come in and I was getting job offers. It wasn't that. It was, I thought I did everything right. I didn't marry the first, stupid fuck that came along. I waited until I found my guy. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mess this morning. My dog was snuggling with me, and she's kind of like Benadryl in the form of a stuffed animal. So she had me literally in bed snuggling until 9:45, and I was finally like, you have to get up. I have to at least brush my teeth. So I'm kind of a mess all over the place. But I figure, you know what? We're in the middle of quarantine and everybody looks like crap these days. So whatever.
Exactly. Look at me. This is me every day. Come on. I just threw a t-shirt on and let's do this. I was with my dogs too, so no worries.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm not even wearing pants. And that's the beauty of quarantine. I'm literally sitting here. I was I grabbed it out of my closet. I threw it on. I'm not wearing pants. Do you prefer me vertical or horizontal? Does it matter?
It really doesn't matter. Whatever is best to you. I've done them both ways. Honestly, whatever's more comfortable for you.
Probably. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll do that.
You know this way better than me. You know about angles and
No, I look to the professionals for that. So I'm just gonna, I don't really need to put on makeup because this is the biggest thing I have going on today, which is a big thing, period. I don't mean to take away from that.
No, please. It's fine.
I was really looking forward to, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. I have an excuse to put on makeup. And so
But not pants, apparently. But
no, definitely. Well, I'll use any excuse not to put on pants. I'll use any excuse to put on makeup and any excuse to keep my pants off. So since I already planned on putting makeup on today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do my makeup while we're doing this. And
I love this. This is a first. I'm all about firsts.
So now people can, if anyone's interested, they can see how it all happens.
A tutorial, a little makeup tutorial at the same time here. This is amazing. I might learn a few things.
Here's one thing, and this is something that even people who don't wear makeup, guys or girls or anything in between, I'm not being paid for this. In fact, I don't get paid for any of this. So I'll just say that right there. I'll just tell you some of the things that I realized. So this is something called Thrive Cosmetics.
Thrive. I feel like my wife uses something.
Does.
I could be wrong. I don't know.
They advertise all over Instagram, and so I have a little bit of an insomnia issue, and what I've realized is that sometimes when I'm having an insomniatic and when I'm dealing with my insomnia in the middle of the night, I'll start scrolling through Instagram, which is the worst thing you can do if you can't sleep.
Totally.
It's like, oh no, I'm on fire. Somebody light a match. It's the worst thing you can do. But I end up buying things in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep. And then I forget And then they show up and my husband's like, what did you order? What is it? And I'm like, I have no idea. And that's the problem with like Apple Wallet and all this
Yes,
stuff. Like
I
credit cards
know.
in.
Yeah.
It used to be where at least you had to get up, go get your wallet, punch in your, and during that time, that other little person on your shoulder had the ability to go, hey, you don't really need this. That's not really something that's going to help your life. However, this is their brilliant eye brightener. And I swear this thing is like, it is very necessary because it just kind of like brightens up your eyes. And I noticed that when I put this on, I just look like I've had a little bit more sleep than I have. So
yeah. Do you ever like put on your own makeup for any like acting gigs or anything like that? Do you ever sort of apply that stuff yourself?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So when I'm actually working, they thankfully hire professionals to do it.
Of course.
Yeah. But like, I mean, obviously for auditions, I always do my own makeup. I mean, because it's also to get a professional makeup artist to come to the house and do your makeup, which I will do for events. Like if I'm going to be on a red carpet, if anybody wants to do a deep dive and has nothing better to do with their time, you will definitely be able to see the red carpets where I decided to do my own makeup because I look cracked out of my mind. Like, I mean, my face is like it's all, I mean, I've gotten accused of having plastics, like really bad. I've gotten accused of having plastic surgery, but even worse than that, I haven't had plastic surgery. But even worse than that, really bad plastic surgery. So like, people are like, God, who's her surgeon? This is terrible. And I'm like, no, I haven't done anything. I just don't know how to do my own makeup when it comes to, so, because I'll just be like, I don't know. I need to put on foundation. Blech.
Yeah.
I just plop it on. But so I learned then if I'm going to do a red carpet, I got to shell out the cash, which is like $500,
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
But worth it, I'm sure, in the end, right?
Well,
like what you get.
Photos last forever.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
If I can show, well, here's a photo where I looked cracked out of my mind with really bad plastic surgery. But the very next week, here's me looking like a presentable human being with proper facial dimensions. That's because someone professional did it. But yeah, for my own stuff. And see, with like my hair, I'm not a natural blonde, as you can tell from my my COVID coloring. I haven't gotten my hair colored in 4 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't care. You know what? I started going gray when I was 24, which is kind of a funny story how I discovered that. And the reason why I know that was when I first had my grays. I was doing this commercial for this company called partypoker.com.
I know Party Poker. I know that site.
Right. So there was this commercial. You may have seen it because they played it ad nauseum. Like it was played all the time, but it was a buyout. And so I didn't get any residuals. And everybody was like, oh my God, you must be making killing. I'm like, no, I made $150 and I got insulted. So they were lighting me, and the guy, one of the lighting guys was climbing on this ladder above me to, light, put some lights on the back. And he looked down and he goes, wow, you have a lot of gray hair. And I was like,
who is this guy? Right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, those are the times when silence is golden. You just don't need to. I'm sure I'll figure it out on my own if I don't already know that I have gray hair. But I remember I was 24 when I did that commercial. So I was like, all right, well, so gray hair doesn't bother. In fact, I would love to grow it out. But after consulting with my manager and several casting directors, they were like, well, unless you want to start playing grandmas, it doesn't matter if you don't have any wrinkles, because you'll definitely age yourself there. So yeah, But we kind of jumped right into it. Is that okay?
That's what I do. This is how I do the
Great.
podcast. I never like 3, 2, 1, go. I just a conversation, you know.
Yeah.
And we edit it, right? It's not live, so just edit it
Perfect.
together. So yeah.
Now, where in Texas are you? Are you currently located in Texas, or are you from Texas and you're now an expat somewhere else?
No. I'm from Texas and I'm in Texas right now. I'm in Austin, specifically.
Oh, beautiful Austin.
But
Oh
I grew
my
up in the
God.
Dallas area specifically.
Oh,
but, yeah.
Where in Dallas?
Like in Hearst, Euless, Bedford, Grapevine, Colleyville. I went to school there. I grew up there.
We used to have I used to judge dance competitions at Grapevine High School. They've got a
Really? I went there. I went to Grapevine High School for 2 years but then they built a new school, Colleyville Heritage. I graduated in 1998. Or maybe actually I take that back. 1 year. I went to Grapevine High School 1 year because that's when they still had Grapevine Junior High. So I did 9th grade, 10th grade at Grapevine High School, and then my last 2 years at the new high school in Colleyville.
So I graduated high school in 95. I graduated from Huntsville High School. And then I went to Kilgore Junior College, which was because of the dance team there, the Rangerettes. And I was on the dance team. And then I transferred to North Texas in Denton, which, not UNT. That far from Grapevine.
Yeah, I know UNT I lived in Denton. I know it very well.
Oh, did you go to North Texas as well?
I didn't, but I played music. And so we were, that was a big place to play music, Denton and Dallas, right? Just in Fort Worth. It was just,
Wait, what was that? What was that bar? Was it 17th Street was in Huntsville. What was the bar that was like right there on the corner of the campus? I think the Flying Tomato was the pizza place.
Oh gosh, there were so many good
there was
bars.
a really cool bar. I used to love going there. They had like an upstairs area and you could look down. And I always like to be on the upstairs area because when I go see live music, the lead singer is like doing his thing and he's like, all charismatic, like come to me and I will sing to you. And he's all about hamming it up. And then the bass player is like, I'm just going to fucking look cool, dude. I'm just going to look cool. And then the lead guitarist is always like, I'm gonna get by the lead singer because I really want to be the lead singer, but I can't really sing that well, but I can play the guitar. I'm gonna sing with you, and all the girls are gonna look at me and you, and we're gonna like bang them together, like all that stuff. I love always, and I can joke about this because my husband actually he started a band when he was in New York, and they did pretty well, and he was the bass player. So I remember being in the audience while the girls would be like, look at the bass player. He's so cool. He's so chill. And I'd be like, go ahead, throw your panties. He'll love it. But my favorite thing, and I love this bar. I wish I could remember the name of it.
Andy's Bar, maybe? Andy's Bar? No. Andy's Bar? No, not Andy's.
No. I feel like people are going to watch and they're going to be like, it's the blah, blah, blah.
Something beans. Was that it? Something beans?
No, but oh my God. Did you ever used to go to the Groovy Mule?
Yes, Groovy Mule. Yes. Groovy Mule.
God, thank God that we did not have camera phones back then. Jeez Louise, these shenanigans at Groovy Mule. But so I keep getting myself off topic. So I used to love being upstairs and looking down because the drummers, like they're in the back. Nobody cares. They've got all this crap in front of them, so people can't really see them. You have to really look for the drummer to find the drummer, unless it's like Tommy Lee and he's in a spinning cage and he's doing, or the dude from Def Leppard where he's like one-arming it like a madman. But like the drummers, they're, and I can also say this to my husband, even though he's a bass player, he's also a drummer. They're just like, they're the rhythm, the heartbeat of the band. And so they just they're in their own world. And I feel like they are really enjoying the music to a greater degree than some of the other members of the band. Not saying the other, other instrument players don't love the experience, but it's a shared experience, which is wonderful to watch. Like, I love watching people that breathe the same breath as the audience, kind of like as a stage performer does. Like I love doing stage, because there are those performances, and the only analogy that I've found that really works for those performances, when like it really is clicking, it's not about, oh man, I was so great today. Like, that's like so self-masturbatory. There's a term that like you use in teachers use called, it's like self-masturbatory, which masturbatory sort of alludes to being self anyway, but whatever. So it's a double, anyway, it's the idea that I'm up here performing, and as long as it feels good to me, I don't care. It's not that. It's when you go, wow, like I felt like the audience and I were breathing the same breath. Like we were all in the moment together, and that's a really exciting feeling that I feel like the people up front in the band usually feel. But there's something really cool about going to see live music and zoning in on the drummer, especially if the drummer is just like in his own world. So you just brought me back to my live music days at North Texas.
I love that. I love that analogy of breathing the same breath. I love that. That is so cool.
And speaking of North Texas and musicians, so I have a friend of mine, I was living in New York, and a friend of mine who, it was sort of more of an acquaintance, but he was very involved in politics and very involved in like nonprofits, and had a ton of money, and was always like, part of these really cool, philanthropic endeavors. And one day I get a text from him, and he said, "Hey, are you busy tonight? Any chance you can meet me at this event at like the Hilton or something? It's for the Clinton Global Foundation, and Bill Clinton's going to be there." Now, this is like back in 2000 and something, and I know Bill Clinton can be a very polarizing name, so let's just take politics out of it. But like, it's pretty cool to meet someone who was once the president of the United States, like regardless of what your politics are.
Yeah.
And I was also like, wow, well, if he's going to be there, there's also probably going to be some other amazing people there, because it's for the foundation. So I go, and of course I'm running late. Shocker. It's a bad habit of mine. I'm running late. And so the event is already going on. Like it's at like in the top level of the hotel. You get out the elevator, and then you go around the corner, and then there's a long hallway. And at the end of the hallway is a check-in desk. And then behind that check-in desk are the doors to the actual event. So I'm running late, and I run around the corner, and I check in, Erin Cummings, hi, blah, blah, guest of so-and-so. And then I see that there's a few people to my, like off to the side. And one of them is Joy Behar from The View.
I love that show. I actually love that show.
Do you?
Enough. Yes.
You know what? I used to watch it back in the day, because I always loved their hot topics when they would just like go at each other. Not saying that I love like watching women argue. It's not about that, but I love watching people who are very fiercely connected to their opinions.
Yeah.
Challenge one another's opinions in a way that doesn't resort to name calling and viciousness. That's what I really like. I like when smart people challenge other smart people. So I finished checking in, and I'm about to walk in through the double doors and join the party. And I noticed Joy Behar is just staring at me, and I'm like, can I fucking help you? But I was like, oh, hi, be nice, Erin, be nice, and I was like, hi. And she said, you look very familiar. What are you, who are you? And I was like, oh, we don't know. We haven't met. My name's Erin Cummings. She goes, what do you do? And I said, I'm an actress. And she was like, oh, well, maybe I recognize you from that. I was like, I don't know. So we're making small talk. Cause I do get that a lot, that people are like, oh, you look really familiar. And the ego side of me would love to think, oh, maybe they saw me as prostitute number 1 on Star Trek Enterprise, but I know that the reality is that I have very, very similar features. And so my entire life, even before I was an actor, people would stop me and be like, oh my God, you look exactly like my cousin or my friend or whatever. So I know that I just have a very similar face. And usually that's what it is. I never assume that anybody recognizes me from anything. And then when someone goes, oh my God, no, you were in blah, blah, blah. Then I get excited because I'm like, oh,
of course.
Like, okay, cool. I didn't force it upon you. No, I'm an actor. Don't you recognize me? Don't you know who I am? I don't have to do that because I hate that. But so sitting there chatting with Joy Behar and like a couple of other people. And then all of a sudden, everybody just kind of like, they're like, you can feel like the butts clenching in the room. And I'm like, what just happened? And I look behind me and Bill Clinton has entered the hallway. And so I was like, yes, finally, my tardiness has paid off, because the entire party is waiting for him to arrive. And he and Joy are like, oh, hey, girl. Oh, hey, Bill. How are you doing? Hugs, hugs, kisses, kisses. Everybody's. And so I'm just like standing there next to him, like, kind of like deer in headlights going, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I don't know what's proper protocol. Am I supposed to like shake hands? Am I supposed to say Mr. President because you're not the president anymore? Like, I don't know what to do. So I do nothing. And then he like stops and he looks at me and he goes, well, hello, I don't think that we've met. And I was like, oh, no, we haven't. Hi, my name's Erin Cummings. And he said, well, hello, I'm Bill Clinton. And I said, yeah, I know. And so like, as we're like, I'm shaking hands, I noticed this woman is like, snap, 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 snapping all these photos. And then, I said, Mr. Clinton, I would be remiss. I said, I promised my 19-year-old self that if I ever had the opportunity to meet you, I would share this story with you. I was a member of a dance team in Texas called the Kilgore College Rangerettes. And he goes, I know them. And I said, I know that you do, because when you were up for re-election, you came to speak at Tyler and we were invited to perform, which I think is so funny that the Tyler Apache Bells were not invited to perform and they were in Tyler. They were like, yeah, thanks Apache Bellies. We'll take the Rangerettes.
We're bringing in outside help here. Yeah.
The big guns.
The big
no
guns.
Offense to my Apache Bell sisters. It's all love. You guys call us the Ranchettes. We call you the Apache Bellies. It's all love. You are.
That's Texas competition, right? Just our spirit of being competitive.
The big rivalry. Absolutely. Yeah. And so, so I said, you got up on stage and you said, I would have traveled all the way to Tyler, Texas, just to see the Kilgore College Rangerettes. And I said, you have to know, Mr. President, that you made 70 young women very happy that day, which I now realize that I probably should have worded that a little differently. But he immediately started blushing and he said, wow, that is so nice that you remembered that. Thank you so much for sharing that, blah, blah, blah. So then, I feel like, oh, that's super cool. I had my moment, with my one-on-one with a former president. And so we went into the party and now I'm like meeting all these people. I met Gina Davis because she has the Gina Davis Institute on Gender Equity in Media. And I had an incredible conversation with her about how I, as an actor, as not the lead actor of a show, not the producer of a show, but like, how can I help encourage gender equity? And she told me a really great tip. She said, she said, think about all the crowd scenes. She goes, yeah, you may not, if you're not the lead actor or the director or the producer, you may not have the ability to, do casting choices, but you can influence the choices of other people. So let's say the second AD, the person who's in charge of, placing background actors. She said, look at any big crowd that you are in. When you're in a restaurant and you look around, don't you see that at minimum 50% of the people in the crowd are women? And I said, yeah. And she goes, right. But if you look on television, you'll notice that most of the crowd is usually men. She said, so you can suggest to the second AD, hey, you know, let's have some more women in this crowd. There's not a lot of women in this crowd. She goes, because a lot of times people just don't even think about it. And then years later, I was able to use what she said in a different way. I was doing a movie up in Seattle, and we were in a classroom, and it was like all the parents were coming to watch their kids do this presentation. And I noticed that there was, there were a lot of white kids in the class, and there was a little black girl in the class. And I noticed that as they were placing all of the parents, I was just watching the little black girl, and I noticed that she kept looking around at the parents. There were no there were no black adults in the room.
Oh, wow.
And I noticed that. I was like, she's looking for who her parents might be. And she's realizing, even though she's a background actor, even though she doesn't have any lines, even though she, even though the scene is not about her character, she's realizing in that moment that her character's parents didn't show up. And
wow.
And then she, as a young girl, is feeling that feeling of, my parents didn't show up for me. And so they were just placing it. We were then going to like break for lunch or something. And so I went up to the second AD and I said, hey, do we have any black adults that are background actors? And he said, no, we don't. And I said, do we have any black members of the crew that are not going to be essential, that are not going to be like on the camera,
Yeah.
That could maybe step in? Because all the white kids and the Asian kid have parents. The little black girl doesn't have any parents. And he was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it. And that's the thing, is that we're in this time where there's a lot of stuff going on. People are talking about gender equality and racial equality and all these things. And it is up to all of us. It is up to me as a white actress to look in the room and realize that the little black girl doesn't have parents representing her, and to go, no, your parents showed up today, sweetheart. Your parents are proud of you. And I'm telling you what, they asked like a couple of the crew people, like there was a black man. It was a black man. There were the black women who were working on the crew that day were essential to, like, they were working makeup or whatever. And I think one woman was part of the sound department. So they just could not do it.
Yeah.
But when she saw, sorry, I just had a phone call come in. When she saw her character's dad walk in and stand there, and he looked at her and he kind of gave her like a little wink, like, I got you. Man, the pride that she felt. And it was like such a great lesson for how in this time, like, we all need to be aware, it's not enough to just be nice. It's not enough to just, treat people equally. It's like, because of this, we got to look out for everybody. And if we see something that, also, it was such an easy fix. It wasn't like I was like, excuse me, this set is racist. You're all fucking racist. And I'm going to write a letter to Hollywood. It wasn't like that. It was just like, oh, hey, I just noticed this, and you may not have realized it because you're super busy, but what if we just did this? Problem solved, But it created an environment where this little girl felt like she was not only seen, but she had a story, she had a family. And so I really have to give credit to Gina Davis for just like putting that in my head, that like, I have the power to say something. So anyway, so that was happening.
Wow.
So at a certain point at the party, I'm like talking to people, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I see that same thing. Everybody just like, the butts clench, everybody like, and I realized that Bill Clinton is sort of like, moving through the room and people are tracking him. And it's so funny when you're at an event where there's like, where everybody's kind of, got their own level of importance wherever that is. But then there's somebody that's like the person.
Yeah.
Because you'll be having a conversation with someone and they're looking at you, and then all of a sudden their eyes just sort of like track. And it's like, you don't blame them for it. You get it. You're like, yeah, like who doesn't, and there is something really charismatic and exciting about people who have reached a certain level of success, whether it's Tiger Woods or Larry Bird or Helen Mirren or a president, whatever it is. There is something like, what is that it factor that you have that got you there? And so I see everybody's eyes just kind of looking around, and he's getting closer and closer, and I can tell because all the eyes are getting bigger and bigger, and they're all kind of like leaning in like, oh, are you coming to talk to me? Are you coming to talk to me? And then he sees me and he goes, I've been looking everywhere for you. And I was like, you have? And all of a sudden, all the eyes around me are like, who is this? Who is this person that Bill Clinton's been looking for? And so I said, you have? And he goes, yes. Do you know? He goes, you said that you grew up, you're from East Texas, right? And I said, yes, that's true. And he said, do you know about the University of North Texas? Or he called it North Texas State, because that's what it was before. And I said, yes, that's my alma mater. I was on the dance team. I went to school there. And he said that I almost went to North Texas. They have a great jazz band. I go, the 1 o'clock jazz band. I know it well. I used to watch them perform. And I said, oh, wow, I didn't know that you were a musician. What instrument did you play? And I'm telling you, the air sucked out of the room. Everyone was horrified. How dare you not know? And he looked at me and he goes, the saxophone? And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, obviously the saxophone. It was like the big thing. He went on like the Tonight Show and played the saxophone.
Oh yeah.
And I was just, and I mean, hey, leave it to me to take a fucking president down a notch on the ego scale. But I was like, oh, what instrument? Like, just so,
I love
it. But but also I noticed that the photographer was still, following him around. And so I went up to her and I said, I just want to say thank you for capturing those photos. I don't know if there's any way that I could ever get a copy of one, but I just think it's really wonderful what you do and that you capture all of these behind the scenes moments. And she stopped and she said, can I tell you that I have been photographing a lot of people and I photographed a lot of presidents, and not one person that didn't have to say thank you has ever come up and said thank you. She goes, what's your email address? I'm gonna send you the photos. And so she sent me all these photos of like, me and a president. And so I think that it was a great lesson also in saying thank you, not because you're going to get something out of it, but because she told, like, no one ever said thank you.
Yeah.
They just said, well, that's your job. And yes, I know that's your job, but as an actor, when I do a performance and we get a round of applause at the end of the play, that's our thank you. That's, hey, we appreciate what you do. And so I try to remember that everybody, even if they're just doing what they're supposed to do, everybody likes being appreciated. Everybody likes being told thank you.
Yes. Yes.
And so I try to remember that, especially when I'm at places where people are often perceived as being invisible. Like when you're checking out at the grocery store, we're all like, okay, did I get everything I needed? Blah, blah, blah. And then they're just like on to the next in their head, think paper or plastic. Did I bring my own bags? Why didn't I bring my own bags? Do I need some more? Like all that stuff. But like, how often do people just stop and look in the eyes of the person checking them out and say, hey, how's your day going? Or did you just get here? Are you at the end of your shift? Any big plans for tonight? Like, I know that people don't like small talk all the time, but considering how and 9 times out of 10, it makes me so sad, but 9 times out of 10, when I do that with someone working at the grocery store, they'll be like, you know what? People have been kind of not so nice today.
Yeah.
And so if you get to be the one person that breaks that up, that goes, well, you know what? I'm really sorry that, you haven't had such a great day, but I hope that the rest of your day gets better. And I really appreciate you work, especially now. I really appreciate you working. Are those the people working those essential jobs? Really, in general, they get so taken advantage of. Whether it's the usually gentlemen who are driving the sanitation trucks, or the people, whatever it is. It's like, if I can impart anything today, I would love to just say, hey, let's all just try to be a little nice, and I'm the biggest bitch on the planet. Like, I love being rude to people, but only if they deserve it. So
that's such a Texas way to be honest with you.
I'll fucking rip your aorta out in a heartbeat. But if you're a nice person, I'm not gonna. I'll be nice to you. So yeah. So let's all just try to be nice to each other. But yeah. So that's my North Texas gal lost in New York story, meeting a president.
That's a great story. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's a great story.
Thank you.
So what have you been doing during the pandemic? First of all, I want to say, the reason that we missed, last week's, recording, I just want to express my condolences to you as far as, for Nick and whatnot. Just devastating, and, just so sorry that, that happened. Of course, I've been following it myself, and again, that you just have to go through all that. So.
Thank you for bringing that. Thank you for your understanding last week.
Of course.
And for people who don't know the whole story, you may have read in the news or seen it on TV. Nick Cordero, Tony nominated, brilliant Broadway actor, who was 41 with no pre-existing conditions, had been in the ICU with COVID-related, because of COVID. And then, he passed away last Sunday, July 5th. Nick and I met, I was living in Detroit shooting a TV series for ABC called Detroit 187. And I love musicals. I mean, I just, you have people like singing in the rain and tap dancing and, crying out their pain. I'm in. I love the dancing. I love the singing. I love all of it. And so when Alyssa Cohen, who works at the Fisher Theater in Detroit, reached out to our cast, we got this opportunity, an invitation. Hey, Rock of Ages is touring and they're going to be coming to the Fisher Theater. Does anybody want to, we'd love to coordinate a cast meet and greet, and you can see the show. Well, as it turns out, because I'm a loser and I don't have a life, I was the only person in the cast who didn't have plans that night. Like, everybody else is like, I have a hot date. I'm like, I'm gonna stay home and watch reruns. So I went, and I was super excited, and I met the cast, including Konstantin Maroulis, who was playing the lead role in that tour. And I met Nick, and the show was phenomenal. I had so much fun. I was dancing in the aisles. It was just such a great show to watch. And then I hung out with the cast afterwards, and they were like, oh, you should, hang out with us Monday night. Monday night we're dark, which in the theater world means we don't have a show that day. And so we always like to go, to some local bar that has, sing and whatever. And so I went out with the whole cast that Monday night, and Nick was trying to get me to come on stage and sing. And I was like, and my greatest fear, besides spiders, my greatest fear is singing in public. Like, I break out into a sweat. I start shaking. I mean, like, I can ad lib a half-hour speech to 200 people, no problem. I mean, I used to teach dance camps for a sea of 900 girls, and I would be on a platform with a megaphone with 2 teachers on either side of me on platforms, and I could do that no problem. But for some reason, singing in public, even singing, I mean, I wouldn't even sing in front of my husband, unless I'm like really annoying him.
Yeah.
Like he always, we binge The Office. And so every time we binge The Office, it used to drive him crazy. And then I said to him, one day I'm going to be dead and The Office is going to come on and you're going to start crying because you miss me doing it. And so now he makes me do it every time, where it goes, wee, wee. And I, so like now when you watch The Office, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The music will go, wee, wee, and you'll have to sing in your head and be like, damn, Erin. But Nick was like, one day I'm going to get you to sing karaoke. And I was like, over my dead body. So that, but we hung out, we got to know each other. He was super cool, super friendly, really liked him. Sorry, my mom was calling. And then we just sort of like stayed in touch, and through the next 10 years, and he would see me on TV and be like, oh my God, I just saw you on this thing, and I'd be like, oh my God, I just saw you on the Tonys, and so we kind of had like one of those friendships that's like, oh yeah, we know each other, but we don't hang out all the time.
Sure.
And then I also became good friends with a guy named Michael Maddox, who was the guitarist for the show, and he and I stayed in touch a bit more than Nick did. And so when Rock of Ages came out here, they had their opening night, and Maddox invited Tom and I, and went to see the show, and Nick was performing, and I had told Tom, my husband, about Nick, and so he knew about Nick, and after the show he was like, God, he's so incredible, and I introduced them, and we were all supposed to have this big Rock of Ages taco party at our house, because my husband and I love to have taco parties. They're the best.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a thing that you would enjoy doing in Texas as well. You just like, you get all the tortillas, you put them in the little warmer, and then you have like the bowl of chicken and the bowl of meat, beef, and you have all your little bowls. And people love interactive dinners. And so, so we were going to do that. And then Nick had to cancel at the last minute because his son Elvis was sick. And then, so we ended up not doing it. We were like, oh, well, let's just push it. So not that long after, maybe it was like a couple weeks later, Maddox calls me and he said, so I got some really crazy news. Nick contracted COVID. And this was like March. Wow. And so this is in the very beginning. I mean, this is when we didn't know that it was an airborne illness, and people were only being told to wash their hands 50,000 times a day. And we didn't realize how important masks were. We didn't know shit back then about this disease. And so he said, he's in a coma, and they had to put him on a ventilator. And so, his wife is here with their baby. And I just wanted to let you know. And I said, okay, we got to do something. We got to help her out. Like, can I go over there and like do her dishes or do her laundry? Like a single mom, she needs some help. And what we ended up doing was we started going over there every day. Tom and I, and then Maddox and his wife Zoe, would take turns walking Elvis, just so that, Amanda could have like a day or an hour to, shower or whatever. And so that went on. And I remember like he was in the coma it was like the second week, and it was a Thursday, and Amanda was really excited. And she said, they're going to pull him out of the coma on Sunday. His oxygen levels are doing really well. And we were super excited. And Tom and I had actually been working on a video for him. We contacted a ton of his friends and family and had them all record like little 30-second, hey, welcome back, Nick. Great to see you, buddy. With what they would say to him if they were to visit him in the hospital. And, we edited it together, and Tom set it to music. It was really cool. And so we were like, oh, we got to hurry up and do the video, get it ready for him on Sunday. And then the very next day, Maddox called and said, like, shit's gone crazy. He got an infection in his lungs, and then the infection spread to his heart, which we now realize that, you know, everybody thought that COVID was a respiratory disease. We now know that it's not. It's a vascular disease. It destroys the lining of blood vessels, and it causes inflammation of organs like the lungs, the heart, the kidneys. And yes, it starts in the lungs, which is why we all thought it was a respiratory illness. But that inflammation caused infections. And then because of the infections, that, you know, kind of took him on a downhill slope. And so they had to put him on what's called an ECMO machine, which is a life support machine. But for someone so young, like I think, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but had he been much older, they may not have taken such a drastic step. But because he was so young and otherwise completely healthy, they were like, we're going to put him on an ECMO machine, and that will do the heavy lifting for his body so that he can recover from the infection. Well, then the ECMO machine also has really thick tubes, and they noticed a discoloration in his toes, in his right foot. Well, we now know that, you know, there's this thing, COVID toes, because it's a vascular thing. You know, it causes strokes and clotting and things. They were able to do a scan, and they saw that he had clots in his right leg. Now, this had been going on for a while, because, you know, like he wasn't getting up and walking around going, ow, my right foot, it hurts.
Yeah.
They were basing this on what they could see from the outside. So, you know, by the time you see something on the outside, all hell has broken loose on the inside. So when they noticed that he had, on the scan, that he had clots, they went to remove the clots, and they opened his leg up, and there were just like so many clots. And my sister-in-law, Tom's sister, is an infectious diseases doctor at Penn. And she said, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. She said, we will open someone up and we will see clots forming in real time. Like something out of a horror movie. She's like,
wow.
We've never seen anything like this. And so I knew way back then that this disease was way worse than even like we were commonly thinking of it. And so so all that happened, and then, you know, they had to amputate his leg because of the incredible amount of clotting. And then, you know, really it became sort of like this one step forward, 3 steps back thing, where he would be having an okay time, like he wouldn't have anything major happen, and then all of a sudden his blood pressure would skyrocket. And then and I'm not speaking out of turn on this. Everything that I mean, there are things obviously that were shared with us because we were seeing Amanda every day, but I'm sharing only things that she shared on her social media. But, you know, it was a really, you know, this went on for like 3 months. I mean, he went into the ICU on April 1st and he passed away on July 5th. So he was in the ICU for almost 100 days. And, wow. You know, there were 4 times that we got the call of he's not going to make it through the night. And there was the dancing and the praying and the singing and like, I mean, and the bargaining of like, and I remember one time on one of the calls, I said, I put on, we had this playlist. There's like a Facebook group of us who all, you know, are friends with Nick. And somebody made a Spotify list of songs that were like kind of inspired by Nick to put on the playlist. And have you seen Rock of Ages?
Yeah, well, not the musical. I mean, cheesily, I saw the movie only.
Oh,
I mean, that's
sorry.
I know. I hate to even say that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. They will even make fun of the movie for how terrible it is. But the big finale number is "Don't Stop Believin'." And so I was in this moment where I was just like shrieking with pain and like bullets of tears raining down my face. And I put on the Spotify playlist, and the first song that came on was "Don't Stop Believin'." And my neighbors must have like their windows must have shattered, because I was belting this song out, and I was like doing it through my rage and through my tears, and the cats were running upstairs, they were so terrified, and I just said, Nick, I don't know where you are right now, and I don't know if you're gonna live to see it, but I'm gonna learn how to sing for you. I made you a promise 10 years ago that I would learn how to sing. And no matter how this plays out, I'm going to sing one day, and I'm going to sing karaoke for you. And so I recently started taking singing lessons, but, which is fucking scary. But,
I bet,
I think that the pain for me that I felt was not just, for losing Nick, because as I said, we had kind of drifted apart, and he wasn't a part of my day to day. So I hate to say, oh my God, my great loss. The pain that I really felt was so much for this family that Tom and I had grown to know and love. And, we saw Elvis grow from like this little baby to now, he's got his mom and dad's long legs, and it's summertime. So he's got this gorgeous tan, which is from his dad. And he's now running around, and, we're chasing after him. And, his dad wasn't there to see his first steps except for on FaceTime. And, we had a drive-by birthday, and Amanda encouraged people to like dress up in 50s themes. So I got my lazy ass up at like 8:30 in the morning, and I was like, lashes, red lipstick, ponytail, cat eye glasses, and I was like, Tom, we got to dress up in character. We drove up blasting Elvis music, for his drive-by birthday. And it's just my heart hurts for all of the incredible things that I believe he will witness from wherever he is, but that Amanda and Elvis won't get to share with him, and that Elvis will grow up with a father as a myth. His father will be a myth to him. He's too young right now to feel the pain and trauma of losing his father, but he's also too young to have any memories of his father. And so that, in a weird way, as much as I fucking loathe social media and, this culture that we're in where every moment has to be captured, I'm also like, God, thank God that every moment can be captured, because now Elvis not only will have photos of his father and videos of his father performing to see what a massive talent he was, but he's also going to have videos of just like, him and his dad just singing to him, and he'll know, wow, my dad may not be here, but that man fucking loved me, And so it's like, it makes me sad. And then I don't know if you saw the news, Kelly Preston just passed away from breast cancer, and, being a breast cancer survivor, warrior, whatever, thriver myself, like it always hits me like a gut punch when I read that someone has died of breast cancer specifically, because I think that, like I remember when I was going through treatment, I had so many people, well-meaning people, well-intentioned, blah, blah, blah. I mean, everybody means well, but they still act like idiots. In everything. People are always like, and then diarrhea falls out of their mouth, and you're like, do you realize that you just took a big shit all over me? Like, I'm glad you feel better, but I'm now covered in shit.
Totally.
I remember so many people would say, oh, I had a friend who had breast cancer and she's fine now. And I thought that was such an insensitive thing to say, because like, okay, well, good for your friend, but I have breast cancer right now. And I, right now, am in a lot of pain. So, like, that would be like, and the analogy that I use is, if someone were to say to you, I have the flu, you would never say to them, oh, I know someone that had the flu and they're fine now. You would never say that, because they'd be like, A, what does that have to do with me? And B, obviously. And so, it's sort of like that same thing. And so I have to remind myself that not everyone survives breast cancer, and that breast cancer is still one of the leading causes of death amongst women. And yes, men also get breast cancer. Men are not immune to this. It's just, it is one of the bigger, like heart disease and breast cancer are the two biggest, causes of death to women. And I'm only alive because of research. This is another thing that I didn't know about breast cancer before I got it. Everybody looks at it as just like breast cancer is breast cancer, but it's not. There's actually multiple types of breast cancer, and they all have different treatments. So there's something called HER2 positive breast cancer, which is the kind that I had, which is basically like if you think about a cell that has all these receptors on the side of it, they're these receptors called HER2 receptors. And let's say that, everybody has them in their breast tissue. And let's say the average breast cell has like 20,000 receptors. I would have like 20 million receptors. And so that was what was causing the cancer is when they said you are overexpressing HER2. And I was like, I'm an actress. I overexpress everything. They were like,
even my cells, right? Like,
right. They were like, are you going to be like this at every appointment? I'm like, yes, prepare to be amazed. I definitely think that I was one of the more entertaining patients. But there's that, but then there's also estrogen receptor breast cancer, which means that your estrogen is what's driving the cancer. The estrogen is feeding the cancer. There's progesterone positive breast cancer. There's triple positive breast cancer where you have all three of those things. There's triple negative breast cancer, which is really scary because you don't have any of those things. So they don't really know how to treat it. So they just throw everything at you. Yeah. And so you can't just look at breast cancer, as one disease. It is many diseases. And thankfully, because of an oncologist and researcher named Dr. Dennis Slayman at UCLA, which is where I was treated, he discovered this particular type of breast cancer 20 years ago. And then because of the discovery, he was then able to discover a targeted therapy for it. So this type of breast cancer 20 years ago, if you got it, you were going to die within a year, period. There was no treatment. Wow. You could do all the chemo in the world. There was no way that you would survive it. Now, if you get diagnosed with HER2 positive breast cancer, boom, 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 you do your chemo, you do Herceptin, which is the treatment, Herceptin and Perjeta, and it has like a 98% survival rate. And I forget sometimes, like all the women just like me who had the exact same thing as me, who had to die along the way before this was, and so I made a post the other day where I said, yesterday, where I said, COVID is not the only thing that's, destroying people's lives right now. It's scary to go out there and go to the doctor, but like, we have to keep taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
We have to go to the doctor. We have to get our mammograms. I don't have a prostate, but if I did, I'd get it checked. We have to, keep doing all of the things that we do to look out for ourselves. And also, like, I know for me, I am drunk all the time these days. Like that is my, I can't deal thing. Like I'm probably an alcoholic. Let's just go ahead and say that. For Tom, his thing is pizza. He'll just he'll just drown himself in Alfredo sauce if he's feeling bad. For some people, it's cigarettes. And I'm really trying to. I am cognizant of, okay, do I want a beer right now because I'm having fried chicken and that's always good with a beer? Or do I want to drink a 6-pack because I don't want to feel any pain right now? And I think it's important for us all in this moment. I mean, damn, even if you don't know somebody that's dead or dying, no one is immune no one's having a good day. Like, I don't care who you are. If you have kids, your life is fucked right now.
Yeah.
You know, especially with like the potential, are they going to go to school? Are they not going to go to school? You know, taking care of kids, you know, and still trying to maintain work. You know, it's a really crazy time. And so I'm trying, in addition to just accepting and understanding that everybody's going through shit right now and being nice to people, I'm also trying to go, okay, what are my unhealthy habits that I use as coping mechanisms? Maybe now is a good time for me to like get that in check. What are your coping mechanisms? What's your go-to?
I would say I do smoke cigarettes, but I smoke rolled cigarettes. So I roll my own cigarettes. I lived in Europe for a few years, and my wife's from Spain, and
Oh, wow.
that's how we smoke. And so I don't smoke very much.
Mm-hmm.
As like someone that just opens up a pack, right, and smoke. I have to roll individually each one. So,
Right.
but it's
So
still
it does
my
take longer. It's
mechanism.
hard to chain smoke if you can't just.
No, you don't chain smoke. I smoke one. I can have one cigarette for like 2 hours, right? You
Right.
just like a few. It's like a pipe, maybe. You just take a few drags and
Mm-hmm.
then set it down, and you can come back to it later. And that's sort of how I do it. But that is my coping mechanism. I don't drink too much. I used to, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
drink too much anymore. But I would say that in food, I'm a chef, so I love
You
food.
are?
Yeah, I'm a chef.
Oh, that's why we're talking about food. We haven't even gotten
Yeah.
around to that.
No,
Hello.
no. I mean, we sort of talk about food and not, we talk about everything. But yeah, so I definitely food is something there. But I would say smoking. I hate that I smoke. I hate it. I wish I could stop. I mean, I need to, or I wish I could stop. It's all it's all on me.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I pass no judgment. I mean, you could say that, you know, crack was your coping mechanism. I'd be like, hey man, we all got something. I mean, I'm glad you didn't say
I'm not
crack.
saying that. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, I pass no judgment. I mean, as I can say this, I've smoked a ton, and even I will say this, when I went through treatment, there was a period of time where I obviously stopped smoking, but then I went into a deep, deep depression, where I didn't want to get better. Like I wanted to actually, I wanted to die. I mean, there's a reason why I have a semicolon in my tattoo, you know?
Oh, wow.
Are you familiar with the semicolon?
No, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, I'd heard about it before I got sick, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, but it didn't apply to me. Like I never understood the desire that anybody would have to end their life. Like I was like, man, if life's a bitch, you're not doing it right. You know, I mean, I had all these like little bumper sticker sayings like, oh, if you've got good friends, you don't need therapy. Ha ha. And then, you know, it wasn't until, and I thought that I had kind of like gone through some shit. And then all of a sudden I went through some shit. Like I was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 months after our wedding. Oh. And then my husband was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer a month after that. Oh, so we spent our first year of marriage, both of us on chemo together. And that was some shit, especially because I was already at an age where like we knew we wanted kids and it was like shit or get off the pot. I didn't have years to wait to have children. And so I think the hard thing for me wasn't that I thought I was going to die, or that I was pissed that I had to lose my hair, or that I had to put my career on hold right as like my ship was starting to come in and I was getting job offers. It wasn't that. It was, you know, I thought I did everything right. You know, I didn't marry the first, you know, stupid fuck that came along. I waited until I found like my guy. Yeah. I waited until I was, you know, at an age where I was ready to be, you know, a family. I did all my partying and my wild, crazy days so that I don't feel as a mom like I'm missing out on anything. I can really focus on, you know, starting a family. And so the pain and I knew, even people were like, oh, you'll be able to have kids. And I'm like, you don't know what's in my uterus. Like, why are you saying that? You know, like, hi, when was the my doctor has taken a tube and shoved it up there. She knows what's going on, and she's not so sure that I'm going to have kids. So what makes you think, dude at Starbucks, what makes you think you know what's going on up in there? And so, it's kind of like the same. It's that same mentality of, oh, I had a friend with cancer. She's fine now.
Yeah, totally.
And so, for me, I went into a deep, deep depression. And so the symbolism of the semicolon is a punctuation that's used when a writer considers ending a sentence, but chooses to continue. And for me, there were so many times that I really wanted my sentence to end, that I tried to make my sentence end. I remember saying to Tom when I was going through chemo, like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go through, I don't even know what I have to live for. And what is the point? And I really, and these thoughts that I never imagined that I'd ever have, that I never understood why other people have. Like, how could you, what do you mean you have nothing to live for? You ungrateful piece of shit. You have so much to live for. But then all of a sudden I was like, I don't have anything to live for. And I can look back and go, you ungrateful piece of shit. I can list 1,000 things that you had to live for. How could you ever have thought that? But in that time, and it was a big chunk of time, I really felt like that. And I would just beg Tom, I'd be like, just buy me a one-way ticket to Mexico. Let's just go to Mexico. Just want to lay on the beach, drink my Coronas or whatever. And I just want to drift away. I don't want to fight. I don't want to go to chemo. I don't want to have surgery. I don't want to have to drive radiation every day. I don't want to have to look at myself wasting away. I don't want to shit my brains out for 3 days. I don't want to get nauseous. I don't want to have to, I don't want any of this to go on. I just want to turn the lights out and drift away. And initially he'd be like, no, don't think like that. You got to be positive and blah, 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 blah. And he realized, okay, that is not working. And that is actually making it worse.
Yeah.
Because then all my anger and rage would all over him. And I'd like, fuck you. And like my head would split open and 7 demons would crawl out. And they'd be like, you're my next meal, Tom. I'm going to take it out on you. God, my poor husband. And he would go, okay, all right, let's go to Mexico. But how about if we buy the ticket tomorrow? And he would let me sit in that moment, and he would let me fantasize about, and granted, I do understand that dying of cancer is not just drifting away. I'm very well aware of that. But, in that moment, that was what gave me some sense of peace. And then the next day would come and we wouldn't buy a ticket to Mexico. And, I have that semicolon and I told myself that I would get warrior tattooed on my arm. Once I recovered from my double mastectomy. And then I'm going to try to figure out how I can show you this without flashing you. But, so I also have Ripley,
yeah.
tattooed, Ripley on this side. And then I have Sarah tattooed on this side, which is what I've named my new breasts, which is Ellen Ripley from Alien and Sarah Connor from Terminator. Because I said, these bad bitches have been through a lot. So they need to be aptly named.
Great names. Great names.
Yeah. So I like the fact that, every once in a while someone will notice that I have a semicolon and they're like, I see your semicolon. And it's, oh my God, I'm getting a little emotional. You know, it's that moment when I connect with people on that level, we don't even have to say anything, because it's an acknowledgement that we have felt that same pain. And I think that it's a reminder to me how easily and how quickly one can be put in a state of mind of thinking, I don't have anything to live for. And to have compassion for that and not judgment, and to empathize with that, and to go, you know what, if someone does not feel like they have anything to live for, you know, you can't say, oh, but you're so lucky, you know, your life is so great and look at what you have. It's not about that. It's like, but everybody in my life would be better if I weren't here. That's what the thinking is. It's not, oh, but I have this amazing husband. Oh, but I have these amazing parents. It's, yeah, but look at what a burden I am to them. That was my feeling. And so, you know, it was, you know, it really, I'm so thankful that therapy exists, because I realized in that moment, you know, why a trained professional who understands those feelings can talk you out of it, you know, or not talk you out of it, but help you make sense of it, you know, because you're like having this out of body experience. And so yeah, I think that we're all going through a collective trauma right now, and I just hope that we're taking care of ourselves and each other. You know, so going back to the cigarettes, during that time, I started drinking and smoking a lot. And obviously a cancer patient smoking cigarettes, like you can imagine how like taboo that is. Like, you know, you can smoke all you want if you don't have cancer, but you can't be a cancer patient and smoke cigarettes. And I was, because I was that self-destructive. But, you know, I think it's important that we all just go, all right, let me just look at what I'm doing, not judging it, just looking at it and asking myself, why am I doing this? You know, what's that all about? And now is a great time to do that. Now, I mean, I can't imagine us all collectively as a species ever being in more collective pain than we are right now. So, you know, that's what we got to do. And thankfully, I have some of my dad's venison sausage in the refrigerator that can take the place of cigarettes and booze for me. Do you want to come see it?
Yeah. What do you got? Venison sausage. Did he made it?
Yes. So
really,
my dad, my parents still live in Huntsville, and here's our shrine to Notre Dame, like all of our Notre Dame stuff all over the wall. My husband gets, oh, and look at this. This is Rangerette pictures. Can you see that? Wait.
Yes.
Little Erin Cummings as a Rangerette. So my parents, my dad retired from the Air Force in Huntsville, Texas. And he is a hunter and a fisherman. My parents live on a cove of the Trinity River, in an area called Lakeland. And my dad has some land of a friend's that he goes and hunts on every once in a while. And he hunts with bow and arrow.
Oh,
so,
wow. That's
Tom,
real hunting.
Sausage. Yeah, so he hunts with bow and arrow. Okay. And,
that's real hunting right there, bow and arrow.
So I'm going to have Tom cook this up for me right afterwards. So this is the last of my dad's venison sausage, and you can see all the yummy marbling in there. How good that looks. And he's going to chop it up.
Wow.
So my dad, he hunts with bow and arrow, like I said, but also in the off season, he will spread out all the deer feed. In fact, the first time that I brought Tom home, my dad said, all right, Tom, let's hop in the four-wheeler. We're going to go fill the deer feeders. And so I was like, get ready, Philly boy. You're about to become a Texan real quick. And so he hopped on the four-wheeler with my dad. And we went out into the thing, and they put all the sour corn out for the hog traps and filled the deer feeders. And then this is the problem with living in a condo. Every trip. Oh, good morning, Joey. Did someone decide to get up? Good morning, baby. Good morning, baby. I didn't even realize that she was back there. She's
Look
like,
at that face.
Hey, baby. She's so cute. Daddy's gonna take you for a walk. Go downstairs. Find him. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna.
My dogs are my kids, so that's like I
yes.
get it. I get it.
Of course. So he controls what the deer eat in the off season, shoots with bow and arrow because he says that since bow season starts before rifle season does, the deer don't get as scared because they don't hear all the gunshots.
That's smart.
And so they're a little, they're not as they're not hiding as much, but also they don't have as much adrenaline pumping through their system, all those fear hormones. And then he loads, he'll load it up on the four-wheeler, drive it home, dress the deer. And then he has a sausage maker, and he has he quarters the deer, hangs it in the back refrigerator for 10 days so that it gets that gamey taste out of it. And then for his sausage, he uses the hog intestines from the hog traps as the casing. So he makes the smart and everything. Smart. Yeah. And then when he makes the hamburger meat, like the venison hamburger meat, he mixes it with brisket. Yes, so that's really juicy. And
who is this guy? Who is this guy? That's like that's like what real pro chefs do, is mix a little brisket in.
Really?
For hamburgers. Yes, that's like legit. I'm surprised you were getting ready to say that. I was thinking you were going to say something else, but no, that's legit. I bet he puts about, my guess is anywhere from about 15%. That's my guess.
How about this? I will ask him and I will report back to you because I'm sure that he would love to hear. He's always looking to up his game. So any tips and tricks that you have.
That's a pro thing right there, is mixing the meat, because they provide different, they cook at different temperatures, and they just provide different things during the cooking process as opposed to just ground beef, right? It's just you mix in you mix in some brisket. Wow, yeah, that's pro level right there. So that's awesome.
See, I wish that my dad loves YouTube videos, and I wish that he would get into making them, because I feel like he could be a YouTube star. Like,
it sounds like it. Yeah, he's off four-wheeling and bow hunting and right.
And then and my dad is like, we are like the family of one man's trash is another man's treasure. I mean, like, hand me down.
That's my wife right there. That's my wife.
Yes. So when I remember there was a one of the army bases, my parents, every Saturday night, we would go to Trejo's, which was this Mexican restaurant just across the bridge in Bossier City, or Shreveport, Louisiana, where my dad was stationed at Barksdale. And every Saturday night we would go to Trejo's. But beforehand, we would have to drive around all the neighborhoods for an hour looking for trash on the side of the road that my dad wanted to pick up so he could upcycle it. And it would drive me crazy. But one of the things that he did was there was an army cafeteria that was like getting new, whatever. And so, those big metal cafeteria things that like all the trays sit in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like they keep things, like they have the cabinets underneath, and like, they were throwing one of those away. My dad said, "Can I have this?" They were like, "Sure." So he took it and he retrofitted it, or whatever the term is, to where he has it out on the boat dock. And so when he goes fishing, he'll come back in And right there, he'll like be able to clean all the fish he has, like, and all of the and all the fish droppings, like all the skin and the bones and everything. He's able to just whoosh it right back into the lake. And it's like, and it's such a cool process.
That's smart.
Like,
yeah.
All right. So when Tom and I are able to actually get on a plane again, and we're going to go to Huntsville, you and your wife are invited to take a road trip to come visit us.
Wow.
You'll stay at my parents' house. My dad will walk you through everything that he does with the fish. We'll take you out to the deer lease. We'll show you all the stuff. You go to the game room and see all the alligator heads and all the crazy animals in the game room. And then you and my dad can trade some stories. And then Tom, me, my mom, and your wife will all enjoy whatever glorious meal you guys want to prepare for them. See how I did that? See how I invited you to my house and then invited you to cook for me? Very self-serving I am.
That happens to me. That happens to me all the time, to be honest with you. I love cooking for people, so I actually will ask or let me help. Like, I feel comfortable doing that. You know, I like doing it. I enjoy it. Yeah, it's a challenge. I like bringing flavors together. I like when someone eats something I make, right, and they make a face or a sound or something that's just so, you know, that they're just happy. They make an emotional connection with, right? We have such memories with food. Like, food is just so integral. So I like making that connection with people. Like, I can have a connection with somebody for a long time, almost infinitely, really, just through food. You know, it's very strange. So yeah, I love cooking. Honestly, a lot of my friends are chefs too. So it's sort of, you cook, then I'll cook, or you make apps, I'll do, you know, this, or I'll do a couple courses, you do a couple courses, whatever the case may be. Obviously with COVID, that is on hold at the moment. None of that.
But that's great that you can have that collaborative process. What is your favorite thing? Like, obviously you have many favorites, but like, in a pinch, if you had to just like, you know, go, oh my God, I have to make dinner for people tonight. You know, not just my family. I know this dish inside, outside. I don't even have to think about it. This is the dish that I'm going to make. Do you have like that one go-to?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I do. I more do because I guess it's just because I lived in Spain for a few years and I really like the idea of tapas. That's the way I will serve dinner a lot, which is just a lot of small plates of different things. So it's not necessarily that, you know, I guess, you know, I ran my own food truck and restaurant here in Austin that I owned for 5 years. I just closed it last March. Thank God, actually. I didn't have to deal with that.
What amazing timing.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, absolutely. But like, my thing is just, you know, not necessarily a certain dish, but I can take whatever I have and make something with it, right? So whatever I have fresh, whatever, I can just open a pantry. I got this, and this. You know, I'd be great on shows like Chopped or Top Chef. Like, I'm really good at those sort of things. So that would be my thing. Let's just make something fresh, quick, flavorful, and go with it. But I can pretty much make a little everything. My mom's from Mexico City, so I grew up with Mexican food, like, intensely. I used to spend summers in Mexico City with my family in Guadalajara. And so I have that sort of food in me, but then I lived in Spain. So I learned like a European Mediterranean style. I grew up in Texas. So, right, there's just a lot of different styles of food here as well. So I'm kind of blessed that way. I even lived in Philly for 3 years, I think, in Lancaster, that area. So I learned some food over there.
Philly's got some amazing places to eat.
Oh my God, do they ever?
Tom has brought me back there, and whether we're going to like, you know, Jim's or Pat's to get a cheesesteak, or we're going to that, you know, foofy restaurant at Rittenhouse Square where it's all courses and wine pairing, you know, and everything in between. Philly's just got such an incredible palate. You know,
it does.
So I jumped on the bread making bandwagon, you know, when all this happened. So I bought a sewing machine. I taught myself how to sew, and I started making masks. And then I was like, okay, I'm bored with masks. Let me learn how to make some bread. And so there was so much flour in the house that Tom said, well, he was going through the cabinets, and he saw that we had a pasta roller, you know, like the attached on. Look at her, she's reaching for my hand, like, are you gonna pet me? This is what she does. Like, I'll rub her stomach, and then I'll stop rubbing, and I'll have my hand up.
You can't do. Yeah. My dog does that too. My dog immediately brings the paw up, like, whoa, bring it back. Bring it back.
Hi. What did I hire you for? You're supposed to keep petting my belly. But he found the pasta roller that we got as a wedding present 4 years ago that was still in the box. And he said, I'm just gonna try making some pasta. He makes this 4-cheese ravioli that has, I want to say, like mozzarella and provolone and cream cheese and like one other cheese. And our next door neighbor is from Rome and is like, I mean, he is Mr. Italiano. And I mean, his name is Giorgio. He only drinks wines. He is very, very Italian and has a lot of that Italian pride. And so I said to him, hey, Giorgio, Tom's making ravioli and we'd love to get your thoughts as an Italian. He immediately scoffed. He was like, Tom from Philadelphia is going to make ravioli. Ha, this I have to see. But he said this, if I had this meal at a restaurant in Rome, I would not bat an eyelash. This tastes just like I'm back home. And so I think we'll maybe I'll make some bread. Tom will make some ravioli. You'll do some tapas, and then you'll be thrilled because if it's auditory, if it's auditory praise that you enjoy, my mother makes the most offensive, orgasmic noises when she eats that I can't enjoy a meal with her. Like, she's very much, I mean, it is so vile for me as a child to watch my parents eat a really delicious meal, because the moaning, the facial expressions, it's just too much. It's too much. It is so awful.
That can be me. That can be me eating sometimes. If I get something really good, like tacos al pastor, where they have the meat on the stick, the trompo they call it, where they slice it up.
Yes.
I can pretty much have an out-of-body experience eating that. So that could be me. I wouldn't
be offended if you did it. It's just when my parents are
You're
doing
right. Your mom, right? You're like...
And I'm a pervert. So if anything's even slightly suggestive, I'm there. I have the visual. I'm seeing it like a movie, and it's just so awful. My girlfriend, have you spent any time in Detroit by chance?
No, I've never even been to Detroit. I would love to go.
Detroit is actually having like a food renaissance. In fact,
you're right. I have read about that. You're right.
So I did a TV show called Feed the Beast, which was on AMC for one season. It was with Jim Sturgis and David Schwimmer, and they play, David Schwimmer is a widow raising a biracial son by himself. And then Jim Sturgis plays an ex-con who just got out of prison. And they decide to open a high-end restaurant in the Bronx. And I would be interested. I don't even know if you can find it anywhere, but I'd be curious, like, from your professional opinion, like what you thought of the show, if you got a chance to go back and watch it, like from the food perspective. But I remember there was this one episode where in the script, this food critic says, you're opening a restaurant in the Bronx. That's like opening a restaurant in Detroit. And I said to him, I went to the writer afterwards privately, and I said, just so you know, Detroit is probably not the right city to use for this, because there's a lot of incredible things happening into the food culture of Detroit right now.
Yeah.
Restaurants that are opening, and a lot of artists who could no longer afford to live in New York. What was the whole reason why you live in New York is because it was cheap, and it was like where all the artists go, and you could find it cheap. But that's been decades ago. Now artists are, and then there was a period of time where Detroit was insanely affordable, not so much anymore, but so so a lot of artists would move into Detroit, and there was already such a thriving culture there of yummy, incredible flavors and foods. And then it just got this influx. And so he said, okay, I'll look into that. And then he came to me like a few days later and he said, thank you so much, because I just did a little bit of research, and you're right. Like, Detroit is the spot.
What city did they use? I'm curious, like, what city could you use, to be frank? Every city in America is like doing great with food, it seems like.
I want to say that they basically just like, kicked a dog when it was down. Like, they chose someplace like Pittsburgh or like Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
A city that's already like, dude, really, they still don't have running water. Can you really not use, can you not make them the butt of a joke, please? Or at least like, give them a back end point on this episode for being the butt of your stupid joke. But so my girlfriend, she's like a sister to me, Grace Quiros, she's the 3rd generation owner of the original Coney restaurant of Detroit. Now, if anybody has spent any time in Michigan in general, you'll see Coney Islands everywhere. There's like Leo's Coney Island and National Coney Island and this Coney Island. It all started in 1917 when Grace Quiros' grandfather, who's, he's Greek, so his name was like way longer
27
than I have
consonants. Yeah.
Consonants and 3 vowels. Right.
Yeah.
And so he came over, he landed at went to Ellis Island, couldn't get work in New York, but he heard that there was a lot of work to be had in Detroit, went to Detroit and couldn't get a job, but he started selling hot dogs out of a little cart. And so he had the hot dog that had chili, chopped up sweet onions, and mustard. Those were the 3 ingredients. And because he'd always dreamed of Coney Island, going to Coney Island, he called it American Coney Island. That was this young Greek immigrant's dream of America. And so he built it and got bigger and bigger and bigger in American Coney Island. And then he invited his brother to come over from Greece. And he said, I will give you the store next door. And because it was on Lafayette Boulevard, they called it Lafayette Coney Island. And then the 2 brothers left American and Lafayette to their sons, who then ran it. And then the Lafayette side sold Lafayette to some random people, who knows what it is now. But American is still owned by Grace. In fact, after our wedding at Notre Dame, she had, as our late night post reception snack, everybody got Coney dogs as they were getting on the road. But she
that's cool.
She has these Coney kits, which you can make Conies at home. Like, she sends the Dearborn sausage hot dogs, the buns, a sweet onion.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's cool. And the chili, like their custom chili. And so she sent a Coney kit to my parents when we were home for Christmas one year. And Patrick, I tell you, my mom bites it and she's like, my goodness. Oh. And then my dad goes, oh, wow, that just explodes in your mouth. And I'm like, stop it. Stop talking. I had to get up and leave the table. So when you come to Huntsville and we have dinner together, and my mom starts like writhing and moaning all over the table, and my dad starts making like innocuously and seemingly innocuous but totally sexual comments, I'm gonna have my earpods in, and I'm just gonna be like, don't stop believing. I'm gonna be like singing. I'm gonna be like, Nick, take me away, take me out of here. But that would be fun. God. I would look forward to it. And then we'll go, oh my God, remember when we first met in 2020 and the world was on fire and we never thought that we were going to ever get out of that hellhole? And now it's 2021 and life is perfect.
Oh God, let's hope that that's right. Let's hope
Yes.
that happens. Yes.
Knock
I mean,
on wood.
knock on. I got a lot of wood table right here. I will beat it up. Yes, absolutely. Well, of course, Erin, I would absolutely love that. My wife would love that. She loves Texas experiences. You know, she loves American experiences.
Oh, well,
You
she
know,
we'll take her out on the boat. You know, we'll show her. My dad may have some pet squirrels at the time or some pet doves.
she's
He
kind of
always has
used to, being out in, as we say in Spanish, el campo, like, just being out in land, right? Like where she grew up in Spain, her father hunts and does all that.
Oh,
In fact, I remember the first time I met her parents, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, they literally, her father had walked in the door to the apartment. Now they live in a city, but he walked in the door. He had a hare, so like a rabbit, right? A big rabbit. He walked in with the hare into the kitchen. They hung it up above the sink, and him and his wife, my mother-in-law, just immediately took out his pocket knife and just right there in front of me. I just met him. I mean, boom, right there, just completely, and they worked as a team. You could tell they had done this a million times their whole
yeah.
life together. And we ate that for dinner, and that was just like Tuesday. It was like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. So she's used to, that sort of thing. Honestly, more than I am. My dad did not bring home things and cut them up and eat them. We didn't do that. We didn't do that. So
Right. That reminds me, my mom said that, like, I don't know if it was the first time that my dad brought her. I think it was the first time that my dad brought her home, and she had me already because I was from her first marriage. And so they walk in the door, and my grandmother said, "David, I made your favorite squirrel stew." And she's like, "Cheryl, come here." And my mom like walks into the kitchen, and my grandmother lifts the top of the pot. And my mom said she saw like little skulls floating around.
Oh my God.
And she was like, "Oh my God, Erin and I are gonna go elsewhere and have dinner. Thank you so much for your hospitality. We're going to McDonald's or whatever." Not much better, but she said that was the last time that your grandmother made squirrel stew for your father. Yeah.
I mean, they say the flavor's in the bones, so I don't know. I'm trying to,
You gotta have the bones in there, man. You gotta have the bones in there.
I can't imagine seeing the skulls just, flowing around. That's hilarious. That is.
Yes, but she's from the bayou. Like, she grew up on etouffee and jambalaya and
Totally.
For my 9th birthday, my grandmother knew. And thankfully, my birthday is in July. My birthday is actually this Sunday.
Oh wow! Happy early birthday!
Thank you. But for my 9th birthday, my grandmother, she said, "What kind of cake do you want?" I was spending the summer in Lockport, Louisiana with her. And I said, "I don't want the cake. I don't want a cake. I just want crabs." And so she got me 9 crabs in a circle, put a little dollop of icing on the back of each one, and put a little candle in. And that was my birthday cake. It was
That's awesome.
I was like a little pig in shit, just little 9-year-old Cookie Cummings eating her 9 crabs all to herself. Nobody else gets it.
I love that. That's a very inventive. I don't know if I've heard of a birthday cake like that. I mean, I would consider, or whatever, a birthday. Yeah, that's good. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, gosh, Erin, well, thank you again, so much for sharing all these stories and, really just, opening yourself up and being vulnerable. I really do appreciate it. And, I know our listeners are going to just, love all this and really take it in. You had a lot of great, encouraging, inspiring words as well. So I do thank you for that as well. And again, just so sorry for, everything you're going for. And, my heart goes out to Nick's family considerably. That's where my thought went to. As well. So yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for giving me a reason to do some makeup today. I don't even know if I finished it. I'm like looking in the mirror like,
looks great.
Like sort of half on, half off, whatever, who cares. But I really appreciate you continuing to, use your voice during this time. And and for sharing all of your stories with me and making the connection. I always love to, keep my Texas roots firmly planted. and I love talking food. And I can't wait to have you and your wife up to the house in Huntsville.
We would love, absolutely.
We'll go on boat rides. We'll, get some sun up on the dock. We'll head out to the deer lease and check out all the land, and we'll have some damn good Texas food.
That's awesome. Yeah, I cannot wait. And again, tell your father, great job on the brisket and the burger.
I will. He'll be so thrilled.
Yeah, super thumbs up on that. And my best to your husband as well, and just to you guys. Just staying safe and during this time. With all the craziness. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate you reaching out and having me on the show. And Zoe, say bye. Say bye, Zoe.
Bye, Zoe.
All right. I really hope you enjoyed that podcast as much as I did. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to email the podcast at patrick@texasrealfood.com. And don't forget, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the different places you can get podcasts. You'll find us on there. Or you can just go to our website, go to thelonestarplate.com. And you can check us out on YouTube if you want to watch it. We video these now, on a little webcam here, and go to the Texas Real Food YouTube channel and you can find it there. Make sure to follow Texas Real Food as well on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe. And if you are so inclined, please leave us a review anywhere you can. Follow us on Spotify or leave a review on Apple Podcast. That would really help us out. Thanks again for listening. Really do appreciate it. Without you guys, what's the point of doing this? So if you have any suggestions on how we can make the show better, please let us know. Thanks again. Be safe out there. Wash your hands.